Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
It is Thursday, June 19th, and thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Triple C. We start with breaking news in East County, where a new wildfire is burning. Evacuation orders have been posted for part of Lakeside, south of Interstate 8. The fire started just after 2:30 today in an area between Los Coches Road and Lake Jennings Park Road. This is video and a photo shared by CAL FIRE just a short time ago. They say that the size is 51 acres and containment is at 5%, with a forward progress being it has been stopped. The Walmart near Los Coches Road and Interstate 8 is the designated evacuation site. And that fire is burning not far from the Monte Fire, which is also in Lakeside. The latest update from CAL FIRE shows more than 1,000 acres have burned. Containment is at 25%. Evacuation orders are still in effect for some nearby areas. There are no reports of any damage to structures. Today, the Juneteenth flag was flown for the first time in the San Diego Black Arts and Culture District in Encanto. Organizers tell KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen it's a significant milestone.
The Juneteenth flag, with its red, white, and blue, and the bursting star representing Texas and the freedom of African Americans in all 50 states, has flown over San Diego City Hall, County Building, and the school district. But it's the first time it's flown here, at the National Black Contractors Association building at the start of the Black Arts and Culture District.
It makes me feel proud. It makes me feel like I'm a part of something bigger than myself.
Philip Coleman is the president of the Block Club, a co-working artist space in the middle of the district. The space is the first of its kind to open since the district was formed in 2022.
So for us to be able to also showcase and highlight why Juneteenth is very important to our community and also share that with other members from communities that surround us. We're ecstatic for that to happen, and we think that it's a point that we'll be able to reflect on for many years to come.
Organizers say it's important for the flag to be flown here in the middle of the Black Arts and Culture District because it celebrates the community's achievements.
As we are here to celebrate, we also must lean in. We must lean in on the realities and the reality on which our great nation was founded. And that was slavery. Let's be clear, we built this nation.
Councilmember Henry Foster says the struggle is still not over as he fights to keep libraries and parks open in the district, referring to the current budget fight at City Hall. Shane Harris from the People's Association of Justice Advocates helped organize this event. He says he wanted to bring the Juneteenth celebration back home.
But even more so important than all of that, it should be raised every single year with a ceremony that launches Juneteenth straight out of the city's Black Arts and Culture District.
Coleman says the event inspires him to work harder to improve the district.
It just inspires me to keep going and working harder because lots of other people are doing just as much work, if not more.
In Encanto, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And today is an important day for American history. Coming up, we'll have more on the Black experience in America. Arts reporter Beth Accomando will tell us about the Underground Railroad quilts that can be seen this weekend at Balboa Park.
It's been nice. We're trending the numbers down in the days to come, which means we're easing out of the heat. And not only that, we're going to find those temperatures below historical average. Tonight, still a pretty quiet night, typical for us as we hit 63 for the low. But I'll tell you where the winds will have some impacts as the numbers come down right into the weekend. The forecast ahead.
The National Transportation Safety Board released a preliminary investigation report into last month's fatal plane crash in San Diego. KPBS's Scott Rod says the report reveals new information about malfunctioning airport equipment.
The Cessna jet crashed early in the morning on May 22nd as it approached the Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport, killing all 6 people on board. The plane caused damage to military housing in the Tierra Santa neighborhood. The NTSB's preliminary report confirms the plane approached the airport below the required altitude and then struck a power line.
And he never should have been that low 2 or 3 miles away from the airport.
Jim Wilterdink is a local retired pilot with decades of flying experience.
I don't think he ever could have found what's called the glide slope, which is the one that gives you guidance going down during your descent.
KPBS previously reported the airport's weather observation system and runway lights were out of service at the time of the crash. The NTSB's report reveals the runway lights had been out of service since 2022. Wilterdink says investigators will likely look at the impact of fatigue on the pilot's decision-making. The crash happened between 3 and 4 a.m.
The big thing is going to be, was there an issue of exhaustion? And that seems to be one of the prime suspects in this case.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy weighed in on the crash during his visit to San Diego today.
In the course of an investigation, before a final report comes out, if there is a concern for safety, we work with the NTSB and we will take immediate action.
NTSB's investigation into the crash remains ongoing. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy toured an air traffic control tower at San Diego International Airport this morning to see the condition of the facilities. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer says the secretary believes funding from President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill is key to improving our nation's outdated air traffic control system.
After a private tour inside of a San Diego airport traffic control tower, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy spoke to members of the media, urging Congress to pass President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
It is old equipment. There's equipment that's broken that they don't have access to because it doesn't work.
Included in the bill are significant tax cuts, Medicaid cuts, and green energy cuts, among many other changes. Another key component is a $12.5 billion investment in upgrading the Federal Aviation Administration's air traffic control system. It follows several high-profile plane crashes across the country this year. He says San Diego's outdated tower is not a standalone case.
This is what we're seeing in America across the country, and it is long overdue that we actually put the money, put the resources into fixing our air traffic control system.
Duffy says that money would upgrade telecommunications from copper wires to fiber. It would also provide funds for new radios, voice switches, radar technology, and some tower upgrades.
This is a critical need for us. The challenges facing our nation's air traffic control system didn't just arise overnight, but they're here today.
All House Democrats unanimously opposed the bill. In a May press release, local District 49 Congressman Mike Levin said the bill would rip health care from 14 million Americans by slashing Medicaid, and that it would take food assistance away from 10 million Americans as well. He said it would also drive up energy bills for nearly 80 million more Americans. Congressional Republicans are hoping to have the bill to President Trump's desk by July 4th. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Dodger Stadium became a focus today for the unrest in Los Angeles over ICE raids. Protesters showed up when federal agents were spotted outside the stadium. The Dodgers later put out a statement saying that the team denied a request from ICE to access its parking lot. Federal immigration arrests were carried out in several LA locations today. The Dodgers say tonight's game against the San Diego Padres will go on as scheduled. It's been a week since California Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed from a DHS press conference, and now the agency is taking more steps to restrict access to members of Congress. New guidance tells members of Congress to give 72 hours notice if they want to visit an ICE detention center. In recent weeks, several lawmakers have tried to check on detainees and conditions inside facilities only to be turned away. Currently, law does not require any notice from a member of Congress. Financial privacy advocates are worried about a new tax buried in President Trump's budget bill. It targets people who send money to friends or family abroad. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis says people can avoid the tax at a cost to their privacy.
Earlier this year, the Trump administration unveiled a financial regulation that would have tracked the names and addresses of people who live along the border and sent more than $200 to friends or family outside the U.S. Nick Anthony is an analyst with the libertarian Cato Institute. He says that regulation was struck down in court.
The latest piece of this is that the courts have stopped the surveillance from taking place in terms of the $200 remittances.
Financial privacy advocates consider it a win.
This was something that was really nice to see, is that the judge specifically said that it overreaches and that this is unreasonable, even going so far to say that it likely violates the Fourth Amendment.
But now Anthony is worried about another attempt by the administration to use financial regulations to increase surveillance on immigrants. They are still targeting the money that people send to their home countries, known as remittances. This time, it's a 3.5% tax on remittances buried inside President Trump's big, beautiful budget bill. But that's not all.
They created an exception saying that if you're an American, you don't have to pay the tax. Just prove that you're an American.
Anthony says that exception is a way for the federal government to collect the private information of people who don't want to pay the tax.
So this creates a whole new layer of problems where it kind of seems like more like a database for collecting our information, for identifying us, for identifying people who have relationships across the border, than really a tax base.
The budget bill passed the House of Representatives along partisan lines in May. It is currently being deliberated in the Senate. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Trump promises to make a decision about direct U.S. involvement in Iran within 2 weeks. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The San Diego County Sheriff's Office is giving details about a recent in-custody death. The woman was found unresponsive in her cell at the Las Colinas detention facility last week. Today, the Sheriff's Office identified her as Linda Bagby, a 53-year-old resident of El Cajon. The Sheriff's Office says Bagby had been in jail since January. The county medical examiner is working to determine her cause of death. A new COVID variant is showing up here in California. Officially, it is called NB181, or the Nimbus variant. But people are starting to call it razor blade COVID because of the pain that it causes in their throats. Right now, the state's health data tracker has Nimbus as the second most common variant in California, but also the fastest growing. Our media partner KGTV spoke with a doctor who says the number of cases locally is still pretty small, but people who are high risk should be careful.
This particular variant, even though it's relatively mild, except for the razor throat, it's very infectious compared to the other strains. COVID has now become just like the common flu or other respiratory viruses. So it's part of life. And there will be peaks and so on. And just like flu, there'll be sometimes really nasty strains, and sometimes it's mild. So just have to be careful.
And Dr. Azam says the current vaccines are effective against this strain. He advises people consider getting one this summer, since we typically see COVID peak in August and in September.
Well, we certainly have been waiting for it, right? A cool down, and we're getting just that, a cool down in a massive way as we head into the weekend. Saturday, we'll have temperatures well below historical average by about 10 degrees in many spots. Then, of course, with that cool down, you have to change something, right? The winds, onshore flow coming in. It's going to mean that the marine layer is persistent and strong. It also means that we will have some gusty times throughout the mountains and the desert communities. Well, this is an onshore flow with more humidity. Do keep in mind fire danger could be a little agitated across the areas, so that will be up at least in some areas due to that onshore flow. Thankfully, though, it's an onshore flow, so there's more moisture associated with it. Here we are as we head through tonight. 63, the low in the city. Head to Ramona, we're at 53, and Borrego Springs coming back into the 70s. As we head through your Friday, there is this whole storm pattern pushing into the western U.S. us, and it is driving some of this cool air in. So it's not just our area that's experiencing this. This is going to be a wide scale here for not only California, but also then into Oregon and Washington as well. For us, what does it mean? It means 70, the high as we head through the city tomorrow, which seems like we're in good shape for the day. As you work towards Escondido, we're at 79, and Borrego Springs coming in at 104. We're not talking the 110 range, so that's always nice to see. But the numbers do per se fairly persistent towards the coast as we keep the extra clouds here right into Saturday. Temperatures in the mid-70s, and as we work our way to those inland communities, you'll find they fall off a little bit into Saturday with the mid-70s for highs. Still, though, dealing with those morning clouds fading away to some afternoon sunshine. Mountain communities, it's bright, but it's cool. Look at Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all hanging out in the mid-60s. So that's our cooler trend for us before we try to warm back up later next week. For the desert communities, it means we actually fall out of the triple digits. In fact, we'll be in the mid-90s, so some more comfort for us as we head into the weekend. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Today is Juneteenth, marking the day in 1865 when the last enslaved people in Texas were freed. San Diego's World Beat Cultural Center is celebrating with events like a Harriet Tubman bird walk and quilt making. KPBS arts reporter Beth Acamando has more.
World Beat Cultural Center founder Makeda Cheatham launched the Threads of Freedom program last Juneteenth. It uses quilts to teach and to bring people together.
So much fun. We had tons of, sewing machines and kids learning this. And then we were so blessed with Kim coming and teaching the kids too.
So last year, I volunteered but also helped with the creation of the community quilt. And that was the beginning of Threads of Freedom.
Kim Valentine Lane is now director of Threads of Freedom. She's a quilter who loves discussing the art, craft, and history of quilt making.
You can see the variations of colors because quilts were made from scraps. African Americans made quilts from cotton sacks, flour sacks, old clothes. And this is also hand-stitched. That is how my maternal grandmother and those before her made the quilts.
Threads of Freedom strives to connect the past to the present.
Because many of us saw our grandmothers or great-grandmothers making the quilts, and we felt so special and loved because this is something from their home.
That's why Lane encouraged Cheatham to bring in a family heirloom.
She said, bring that quilt out. I go, but it's all tattered. But it tells a story, and it makes me proud. So we want everybody to come out and learn how to make quilts again.
And the designs themselves tell stories. Lane points to a quilt she made.
This is an Underground Railroad sampler quilt.
She refers to the pattern squares as codes for those using the Underground Railroad.
Each of these blocks are a code to relay to the slaves that were in their journey what to expect next. It was taking a journey from slavery to freedom. And in taking that journey, quilt blocks were the road maps. So I made this quilt. So, this is a history book. You can break it down by the color. You could break it down by the fabric. You could break it down by the design.
While Lane's quilt and the exhibit reflect a deep connection to Black history, some scholars question whether Underground Railroad quilts and their secret codes actually existed. The quilt code theory was introduced in a 1999 book called Hidden in Plain View, which referenced a single story passed down to one of the authors.
When it was published, it created this frenzy, which in some way was good because it got folks looking at quilts made by Black folk.
Tracy Vaughn Manley is a quilter and an assistant professor in the Department of Black Studies at Northwestern University.
On its surface, it's quite a captivating story that there were these ways in which those who were attempting to escape enslavement had these codes, this unspoken thing, and that were leading them to freedom. It's a real feel-good, triumphant story. I'm not going to fully assert that it is not true, but up until this point, major historians who've devoted their life's work to studying every aspect of enslaved life in America can find no evidence.
And then there's the question of materials.
Did they have the luxury of the textiles to make these intricate designs? No. The economics of it don't support it either.
But the story of these quilt codes persists, and it's easy to understand why.
Those who have ancestors who directly suffered at that time, that generations of their families suffered, to say that someone had a quilt out that lent to their potential escape from this, or that there was some agency. There's a heroism in that.
And yet, there might still be value in these modern Underground Railroad quilts as an engaging tool to create awareness about African American history. And there's always a value in using quilts to reflect the essence of America.
You take bits and pieces that are odd, don't fit together, that are different color, pattern. You put them all together and you have this beautiful thing. I think that is a way to use quilting to talk about America. We love stories where the people who we think are the good guys triumph, but it doesn't make it true. And I don't think that this is something that has been erased. I think this is something, the evidence tells me that this is something that never was.
Threads of Freedom is one part of the World Beat Cultural Center's Juneteenth celebration, and just one piece of its year-round mission to honor Black and African culture.
And this is our history. So we all gotta be a part of keeping our history, because it is being erased. So places like the World Beat Cultural Center are keeping our culture, and we're telling the story.
Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Well, ready for a trip back in time? It's been more than 3/4 of a century since a San Diego man became an international sensation by making the trip of a lifetime in his car. Ken Kramer shows us how it happened in this story about San Diego.
Quick visit here to the San Diego Automotive Museum in Balboa Park, and inside, past the vintage and later model cars, is a very strange piece of San Diego history that is truly one of a kind. So let's imagine it's 1947. In post-war America, when it came to cars, the gold standard was Cadillac. And in San Diego, Mr. Matar, Louis Matar, bought one. This very one that's at the museum today. You see, Louis thought of his Cadillac as much more than just a car. To him, it was a challenge. He wondered, how far could he drive this car and not stop? Not for gas, not for food, bathroom, anything, non-stop.
Good evening and welcome to That's Incredible.
For years, the story made him a TV celebrity. He had to build a car that he and his crew could live in for weeks while they were continuously driving, and pull a trailer too with food and tools. Louis' Cadillac was incredible and fabulous.
By making the back seat cushions removable, Louis was able to install a number of helpful household conveniences.
This is an electric washing machine.
Around the world, Louis Matar's fabulous car, it was called, was a media sensation. But did he really drive it nonstop? Yes, he did. In 1952, from San Diego to New York and back, round trip.
And in 1954, we made one from Alaska to Mexico City, Goodwill tour nonstop.
That's a long time and a lot of miles in this car, never stopping. How did he do it? Well, they refueled and took on water for the 50-gallon tank while in motion, and you needed water, of course, for the shower.
How's the water? Hot or cold? Hot. Oh, it's hot. Okay. You feel better now, Don? Good.
And inside, you can see today, there's that clothes washer and an iron, an electric stove. Louis loved to show off all the custom comforts.
Okay, this is a medicine cabinet, and you got electric lights on there, and you got 110-volt outlets in case you wanna shave. You got a beautiful mirror. You can look at yourself. Hey, Louis, how cute you are. I love you.
But Louis used to say that the ultimate challenge for his fabulous car was changing a tire while the car was moving down a highway, which he had to do every now and then. So how could that possibly be done? Here's the trick. A walkway was extended out from the car, and then a small airplane wheel was lowered to lift the tire. From then on, it was all tightly choreographed. A platform was affixed.
Okay, screwdriver.
Off comes the hubcap. The flat tire is removed.
Okay, bring the other tire. Hurry up.
The new one is put on, and it's just like that.
Drop it now.
Louis Matar's fabulous car keeps rolling on all of its tires. This car is a masterpiece of engineering. With a push of a button, Louis could change the oil en route. Another button refilled the radiator. It took him 7 years to build it and a year of planning to arrange for police escorts through cities and across borders. His fabulous car made international headlines, and over the decades, he showed it off proudly to anybody who would ask.
I just had it painted 50 years ago.
The questions were always the same. Was there a toilet on board? Well, yes. And all those hydraulic and electrical lines, did he do that? Yes. Was there really liquor on tap? No, not while driving.
アメリカはサンディエゴ、そしてドーンと東海岸に移りましてニューヨークですね。
And one thing more, through all the interviews on TV, when he'd tour with the car, he always boasted that San Diego was his home. He felt like an ambassador from our city. So it's fitting that Louis' Cadillac has a permanent home here at the Automotive Museum, a tribute to his ingenuity and sheer endurance. Louis Matar's car, something that was and is fabulous about San Diego.
Ingenuity indeed. Ken Kramer has a half hour of stories every week about San Diego. You can see them Thursday nights at 8 o'clock right here on KPBS. Here is a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. The U.S. needs thousands of additional air traffic controllers, but training and certifying them can take years. NPR's Morning Edition visited one school that's trying to get controllers on the job faster. And KPBS Roundtable is discussing some of the biggest stories of the week, including the controversy at this year's San Diego Pride. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.